A few weeks ago, World's Strongest Man were asking the question, who are the most underrated strongmen of all time? So we went away and came up with the ultimate list. So a few weeks back on Instagram, World's Strongest Man were asking who are the most underrated strongmen of all time. Now, I had a look on that list, and I think some people don't necessarily understand what they mean when they say underrated. There's a lot of names I thought were overrated on this list.
We won't go into that.
And, you know, for me, when you're talking underrated, you're talking great athletes that don't get spoken about, that aren't put into that category of, you know, I'm not talking the best guys never to win a title. I'm talking of amazing strength athletes that maybe just people don't really talk about, they don't think about when it comes to who are the best guys. I think we all have bias towards our own generation as well.
Course,
people that grew up watching certain athletes, they'll always talk about them. I'll always look at the guys that I competed against in terms of, you know, who I thought were incredible. But what we're trying to do with this list is take that out of it a little bit and look at, you know,
try to be subjective.
Absolutely. So shall we get into our list?
Let's start with a number 10. Lars, I'm going to need your help. Do you know what? I hadn't even heard of this guy. So yeah, maybe he is very underrated. Pronounce his name for me.
So this is someone that I competed against very early on in my career. Stoyan Todorchev. He was an incredible strongman. One of the youngest guys to compete at the top level. Incredible at certain events, particularly things like yokes and farmers walks. And you didn't even know who I was talking about when I mentioned this guy.
Never heard of him. Yeah, so naturally I did a deep dive on this guy once I figured out how to spell his name. Yeah, he does have some impressive wins there. He was a 2-time winner of Globe's Strongest Man in 2008 and 2011. And that 2011 show actually had some of the absolute best guys at the time competing in it, like Zydrunas Savickas, Krzysztof Radzikowski, Stefan Selby Peterson as well.
Yeah, if you guys speak to someone like Terry Hollands about Stoyan, he'll be able to tell you how good he was. Both of us competed against him. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, seemed to not reach that peak or just drift away, and no one ever spoke about him again.
Well, he did Worlds just 2 times, and both times he didn't make it out of the group stages. We do see that with some guys that are really good at one-day shows, can't bring that same level of performance to World's Strongest Man, and that is probably why a lot of people don't know who he is, unfortunately.
So at number 9 on our list is Ervin Katona. Now,
I know Ervin.
You do know Ervin. You can't forget Ervin if you've met him. He just had the most epic laugh. Very contagious. He was a great guy. I got to compete against him a number of times. Really enjoyed my times head to head with Ervin, but he was an amazing competitor.
Yeah, Ervin was no joke. He won 18 international competitions throughout his career, which puts him way up there on the ranking of most shows won. Most of them were the Strongman Champions League, but a lot of the time it was in an era where you did get a lot of the top guys doing Strongman Champions League, and on top of that he was on 39 international podiums.
Yeah, he's someone that managed to really do well when it came to competing. Someone that probably didn't prep that much for any of these comps. He would have been taking comp after comp.
Yes, he was.
And good at adapting to different events. A lot of the comps he did, you didn't know what the events were until you got there. And, you know, I've competed against him a number of times. Super strong, amazing shoulder strength.
If you look at some of his strengths, he's got like a really weird front hold. He's won it 13 times in competition.
When you see his shoulders, you understand why.
Yeah, really good at Viking press, really good at arm over arm. But again, this is someone, he did the World's Strongest Man. He did make the final 3 times there, and his highest placing was 7th. But like you say, these guys never really put in a full prep for anything, because it was week after week they were competing.
Just non-stop. But yes, someone that did extremely well that no one talks about now. So next up, we have the Bloemfontein Bull, Gerrit Badenhorst from South Africa.
The what?
The Bloemfontein Bull. That was his nickname back in the day. And he was an amazing athlete, amazing deadlifter, great character. Actually, one of my favourites kind of growing up watching Strongman. Again, someone not often talked about. People have put him in contention of like one of the best never to win World's Strongest Man.
He belongs there too.
But in more recent times, people don't really talk about him until this year, when Reino Nel won World's Strongest Man. And I think Reino took the title of most successful South African strongman at that point. But before him, it was all Gerrit Badenhorst.
Yeah, so Gerrit, he did have a good track record at World's Strongest Man. He placed second there, he was third there, and he was fourth there twice. So he was a nearly guy. But he did win some good international competitions as well. The World Strongman Challenge was one of them. And I loved the titles back then. World Mighty Man.
They had some great names.
Imagine saying, I'm the world's mighty man. But he beat the best guys in that era at the time. He was beating Magnus Ver Magnusson, Gary Taylor, Jamie Reeves. So, really well. These guys were World's Strongest Man champions.
Unquestionably the biggest deadlifter at the time as well.
100%.
Which obviously is important.
Yes, always.
Next man on the list, I know so many modern fans won't even remember. But to me, this guy was one of the most epic Scandinavian athletes, Flemming Rasmussen. Big, powerful, athletic, came second at World's Strongest Man. He was an amazing strongman.
Yeah, and he didn't have the longest international career either. He only competed on the sort of pro scene for 6 years. In that time, he did win 6 international competitions. 2 of them were the World's Strongest Viking. And again, he was beating World's Strongest Man champions like Hugo Ahola. He was beating Yanni Vertinen, Riku Kiri, another great athlete.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
he was always right up there, but never quite there. I believe he came second at Worlds, third at Worlds, fifth at Worlds. He was always in the mix. So the next one nearly sparked controversy in the Shahlaei household, but because you weren't sure that he belonged in this list, yeah, I managed to convince you to sneak him in there. So it's Mikhail Koklyaev that we're talking about. And the reason we weren't sure was because you felt that at the time he was competing, he wasn't underrated at all.
Not at all.
Maybe it's more that he's been forgotten.
Almost forgotten about now, yeah. And
I think that's really common for athletes that were popular before the age of social media.
yeah, I mean, if he was competing now, I think he'd be an absolute superstar.
He would, because he was just larger than life personality, wasn't he?
Yeah,
as well as an incredible
he's
athlete.
still training, and he still pops up from time to time, but you only get really hardcore fans that talk about him. And we see the likes of Lucas Hatton these days doing these incredible numbers behind the neck jerks. This man was doing 270 kilos when no one was even watching on a behind the neck jerk. He had incredible results in competitions. He beat Zadrunas multiple times in competitions.
Times, yeah.
How many podiums did he?
He was on 30 international podiums and he had 11 international wins. Now, a lot of his career was through that IFSA split, and he was on the podium at the IFSA World Championships in, I think it was 2005, when arguably, let's face it, it was a much more stacked lineup than World's Strongest Man was that year. So
absolutely, at that time, the best athletes were in IFSA,
yeah.
And he was certainly one of them. He was constantly on podiums, constantly beating the top guys in the world, always entertaining, always larger than life. And when you go and watch his training videos, even now I still like to go back and watch them. They are some of the most impressive lifts you will ever see,
and some of them the most spicy as well. He famously did a no-handed squat wearing just a sock.
It was a totally raw squat.
The next one's really interesting because he's actually quite famous in Poland now, but not necessarily all from Strongman. He is a star of Gogglebox over there. So it's Krzysztof Radzikowski, winner of 23 international competitions, a lot of them Strongman Champions League, but also some Giants Live shows in there. He was a 2-time winner of Giants Live Poland, which had the likes of Thor Bjornsson, Mike Jenkins, Jerry Pritchett competing in it. He was on 6 international Arnold's podiums, so those who were still fans back in the day, it wasn't even that long ago, to be fair, sort of pre-COVID. We had the Arnolds in Asia, Africa, Australia.
Yeah, Krzysztof, unbelievable athlete again, someone that not that many people are talking about. When it came to pure power, he was unbelievable. One of the best log lifters in the world. I mean, someone that pushed Zadrunas on log.
Yeah.
Amazing when it came to like Viking press.
Yeah.
He was just bionic in terms of the tricep strength. Again, some amazing gym videos. You just see him lifting huge weights. A fun character, a fun strongman, and a great strongman as well. And someone I believe is like underlooked a bit.
And again, he didn't do that great at World's Strongest Man, but we see that trend. He did 110 international competitions, 10 national competitions, and God knows how many other comps that aren't even on the archive. So he was just back-to-back competing. Yeah. And really, considering how much quality training you were getting in that time, he had some amazing lifts, 217.5 kilos on the log.
This next one is an interesting one because I met this guy, he came up to me for a photo when I was competing in FIBO as a young up-and-coming newbie to strongman, Matjaz Belsak, absolutely incredible career in a very short period of time. He was such a young buck, came into the sport, did exceptionally well, and left. And sometimes we don't appreciate how well he actually did. It was you that kind of pointed out how successful he was in that short career.
Oh, massively. Yeah, he had 15 international competition wins, 33 podiums. He won the Arnold Europes, which used to attract most of the top names in the sport. He truly did so well. But again, he was just competing so frequently. He absolutely destroyed his body. I think he had a full hip replacement, like in his late 20s.
Yeah, I think he still does some local comps now, but he's given up on international strongman.
Back off a lot.
But he was exceptionally good. I remember seeing him at Giants Live beating Eddie Hall. Yeah. There's the famous stone bouncing video.
Smart athlete too. I'm not sure it was that smart to do it, but he got away with it.
But yeah, someone that just performed. You know, you look at results from all his competitions, he was always up there, and not someone we all, if we were doing prediction videos, you wouldn't necessarily be talking about him, but he was always there or thereabouts. So next up, this is someone that I did see on the World's Strongest Man list, mentioned by a number of people, and I have to totally agree. Vytautas Lalas, the absolute powerhouse from Lithuania, lives in Ireland. One of the best guys of that generation, did so well in so many competitions, winning major shows. Obviously, winner of the Arnolds, second at World's Strongest Man, competed against him firsthand, and he's an absolute powerhouse. But maybe not someone that people speak about.
No, and I don't know if people have short memories, or maybe it was a quieter year at the Arnolds, but he did win the Arnold Strongman Classic in 2012, honestly. The power stairs were his downfall. Now, fair enough, he was only half a point ahead, but he was leading going into that final event. Lalas is 5'10", all right? He was wider than he was tall. And that was an exceptionally tall year. The next shortest guy was 6'2" or 6'3". But you had monsters in there. Mike Jenkins. Todorchev is very tall. Brian, Thor. Yeah. It was so tall all round.
It was. The steps were super high. Very steep,
yes.
I will say, I think probably one of the reasons he was overlooked a little is just because he was in the shadow
era.
Well, in the shadow of Zdrunas Savickas.
Yeah, being Lithuanian.
Being Lithuanian, he was always up against Zdrunas, and Zdrunas is the greatest of all time in so many people's opinions. But Lalas was amazing.
Yeah, and he won 8 international competitions, and that included some Giants Lives and Strongman Champions Leagues and FIBO and Arnold's Asia, I think it was. So, and Arnold Strongman Classic, of course, his biggest win. So he stands out on this list as a major competition winner who maybe doesn't get the kudos that we think he deserves.
So we're getting to our top 2 now, and at number 2 we have Hugo Girard from Canada, the absolute beast. Again, massive shoulders, big presser, big character. Someone that I really enjoyed watching when I was first getting into strongman. He was an absolute beast.
And again, he's someone with so many international competition wins under his belt, 15 in total. If you look at some of like the current top guys, these guys massively eclipsed the amount of international competition wins than a lot of our best guys now. Like Lucas Hatton, I don't think has an international competition win yet.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like we need to bring some perspective to this.
Well, Lucas Hatton is a good example of someone that we may talk about in a list like this in the future.
Oh, I hope not.
What I'm saying is, we're talking about a lot of guys that maybe didn't do that well at Worlds, and Lucas thus far hasn't done that well at Worlds, but excels at other shows. So it's just maybe showing you it's not always about World's Strongest Man.
No.
Because Hugo is a guy that won so many comps, beat absolutely everyone, did amazing, probably the best winning record against someone like Marius at the time.
Oh, he does, because he was so good at things like the Grand Prix shows, which were like the Giants' Lives of our era back then. He won 5 of those. The World Muscle Power Championships, he won twice in 2003, 2004. He was beating Zdrunas, Marius, Vasil Vorastik. These are all World's Strongest Man winners who were in their absolute prime.
Yeah, he was an amazing strongman, amazing grip, powerful throughout, just good character, loved heavy competitions, set world records on logs and axles, just an absolute beast. And again, now not so many people talk about him.
No, and he's someone who, he didn't do terrible at World's Strongest Man by any means. I think he was in the final 6 out of 7 times that he competed there, and he did place 4th. But in a one-day show, if you had Hugo in the lineup, I think a lot of the guys were thinking, oh shit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he was someone, yeah, if you were up in a lineup, he'd be like the guy, people said, this guy's, one of the guys to beat. And World's Strongest Man, he seemed to struggle a little bit more with those longer shows. And finally, at number 1, we have Riku Kiri. Now, I was probably thinking more Hugo, and it's you that convinced me that we should go for Riku in the end. And when you kind of list off what he's done, and then you do think about people never talk about this guy.
Never.
He is an incredible strongman and definitely massively underrated.
100%. And if we look at some of the stats and facts here, 11 international competition wins, including 3-time Europe's Strongest Man. And now in these lineups where he was winning competitions, these were not empty competitions. He was beating the absolute best guys at the time, like Magnus Ver Magnusson, Jukka Ahola, all of those great guys in the 90s. He was on the podium at Worlds twice. He came 2nd. That was his best placing ever. But Riku, he was absolutely plagued with reoccurring injuries.
Very unlucky with injuries, particularly at World's Strongest Man.
Yes. Again, another one, maybe the longer format didn't suit him so well, but I believe without some of those injuries, he would have gone down as one of the greats. He brought it time and time again on those shorter format shows. Yeah,
and again, absolute beast when it comes to gym training. Some of the lifts he did in the gym, unbelievable. As you've said, multiple wins in competitions. Amazing strong. He was a very quiet, almost shy man.
Yeah.
Didn't like to be in the public eye so much. And you just don't hear many people talking about him other than when it comes to Worlds and maybe one of the best never to win World's Strongest Man. But did so much in the sport and without question, one of the most underrated. Right guys, there you have it. That is our list. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, let us know in the comments below who would be on your list and we'll catch you guys next time.